everybody, and welcome to the Ionian Institute. Thank you very much for joining me for another session focused on our novice and beginner players. If you've never touched a mountain dulcimer before, or if you're coming back to it after a long absence, welcome. We're going to be doing a little bit of a recap on some of the things we've covered this year, and then we're going to go into another area that we really haven't delved a lot into in terms of rhythm. We've played a little bit with rhythm. We've been working on our strums and our cadences, and in fact, let's go ahead and start things off with our cadence activity. And I'm going to go ahead and put this up on the screen here. So let's see, we can go into Auld Lang Syne. We've got a little preview here of some of the stuff we're going to be looking at. We're going to do some tunes today as well. Here's our cadence right here. And I've got a couple of different versions of the cadence. I'm going to use this one. Oh, let's see. Yeah, let me go ahead and use this one here. I don't think we've actually looked at this particular sheet yet. Let me move this camera a little bit out of the way. All right. And I'm going to just monitor on Zoom. I've been making sure I use the right cameras and the right angles for everybody for the video at home and for those of you watching live as well. All right. So in terms of our hands, with the two hands that we've got, one hand is typically going to be doing the chording and fretting and fingering and so forth. The other hand is going to be doing the strumming, picking, flat picking, finger picking, stuff like that. So this is an exercise focusing on the rhythm side of things, the strumming and things of that nature. And if you look here at the top, let me go ahead and get into my draw zone. So I can draw on this, and I'm going to use red so it stands out. Okay. Little test there. Okay, so at the very beginning here of this exercise, you can see that we've got a couple of different note durations. And with each individual note that we play, we can do a lot of things with these notes, of course, but we can make them longer, we can make them shorter, but we also have these standard note durations when we look up there on the music. And that'll tell us how long a note is supposed to be played, and then we stop, of course. So let's just assume that for a lot of our activity today, we're going to be doing 4/4 time. Remember, when you see that double number there, the top number is how many beats are in the measure, and the measure is the space, basically, in between here and here. Everything inside of those two little lines there is a measure. And so when we've got 4 on the top, that means we have 4 beats in the measure. As you can see by this example with the quarter notes, we've got 4 notes and 4 beats. So the notes themselves are notes themselves, of course. But beats is how we count through it. 1, 2, 3, 4. We count 4 notes that way. Let me go ahead and take that off of there. So what you're seeing up here are these note durations that have clear status. See how you can see they're kind of clear in the middle there? This is a whole note. There's nothing coming off of that note. It's just a big oval sitting there on the staff. And it's clear. It's got a black outline, but it's clear. It looks like there's something in the middle, but what you're seeing in the middle is actually a line of the staff running through it. So it's a big wide open nothing, a big black dot with nothing inside of it. And that's clear. It's a whole note. That means it's going to get everything that's in the measure. Typically this is used in 4/4 time. That top beat, a top number, 4 beats in the measure. The bottom number is what gets the beat, and 4 stands for quarter note, which is why we've got 4 of those. So the whole note gets 4 beats. You simply pick it, strum it, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it stops. It lasts for 4 beats total. And those mean that the melody it's attached to probably is sustaining for a long period of time. It's not very active. It's not going anywhere. It's not an active note. So we call these inactive notes because they kind of sit there like a blob for a very long period of time. Now, if we cut a whole note in half, we get 2 half notes, and that's what we're looking for right over here. So we see we have the same clearness. It's clear, invisible if you want to, in the middle, but there's a stem coming off of each one of those. The stem indicates that they are lesser than a whole. So once you cut up a whole note with no stem, we'll start putting those stems on there to show this is a fraction of a whole note, basically. So here we have 2 halves, and each one of those will get 2 beats because we have 4 beats in the measure. So we would count them 1, 2 for the first note, and then 3, 4 for the second note. So we have a total of the 1, 2, 3, 4 count. And that would sound something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm muting the string. I'm stopping it from ringing afterwards so that we can hear just the amount of time that those notes or chords are supposed to be sustaining. So we have our whole note, all the beats in the measure, 4 beats if you're in 4/4 time, and then the half notes, 2 beats per half note, and there are 2 half notes that can fit in the measure of 4/4. It's just math, basically. I don't like math, but it's there. We have to deal with it. If you don't like math, it's easy math at least. Okay, so those are the inactive notes. Inactive notes mean they're kind of hanging out there for a little bit of time. There's not a lot of urgency involved. Now, as soon as we get over here to the black notes, quarter notes, 8th notes, 16th notes, and beyond, now notice they are, of course, colored in, and that means they're moving a little bit quicker than our inactive notes. And so we're calling all of these black notes active notes. Now, a quarter note's not a very insane pace unless you're going at a very, very high tempo. So let's just play 4 quarter notes just like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a very mellow tempo right there. The tempo is the rate of beats that passes by within a minute, and we rate that in beats per minute. So you'll see it written as BPM. So let's say, for example, this exercise could be, maybe 80 beats per minute. So we would put a quarter note, and it would probably be black as opposed to red. Let me go ahead and do that in black, because this is the way it'll actually show up on the music. We'll have a quarter note, and I'll draw here. And then there'll be an equal sign, and then you're going to have a number. So we said 80 beats per minute, 80, and then typically it'll have BPM at the end. So you know how we have 60 seconds in a minute? Beats per minute is how many beats per minute, just like that. So a moderate tempo is 80. That's pretty mellow. A standard tempo is anywhere between 100 and 120 beats per minute. A lot of dance tunes go there. And of course you can go faster, and of course you can go slower. It's a lot harder to play slow and be patient and wait for those next beats as they come along. So beats per minute is how we measure tempo, and how many beats per minute will indicate how fast or how slow a song will sound when we play it. So we have our quarter notes. And at 80 beats per minute, off the top of my head, I'm thinking about 1, dum, 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 right about here, bum, bum, bum. It's about 80 beats per minute. I might be off a little bit, but as you can tell, it's moving kind of slow, bum, bum. So if we just do 1 beat, quarter notes, 4 beats in the measure, then that measure of quarter notes would sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Nice mellow tempo, 80 beats per minute. All right, let me go ahead and get rid of that. There are our quarter notes. So even though we're not moving very fast, it sounds like we're going somewhere. Boom, 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 boom. That's a lot more active than boom, wait for 4 beats. Or boom, wait for 2 beats. It actually has a lot more motion going. So if you give 1 strum per melody note, that's quarter note, or 8 note, or 16 notes. If you give just 1 strum per melody note, you will have plenty of strumming activity to propel that song forward. So just remember that. That's one of the really most important things that you can keep with you in your mountain dulcimer experience, is when you see a melody that's a line of notes like we're seeing here, but these notes are all basically rhythms. When you see a melody and it's moving along, just remember that it is 1 strum per melody note, and that will give you the flow that you need to play through. And we'll be doing that here in just a little bit. So quarter notes, 1, 2, 3, 4. We can then cut each one of those quarter notes in half, and that gives us 2 8th notes. So we have to have a different count for that. We've added 4 notes now to our full measure. Let's go ahead and take a look at the quarter notes here. I'm going to go back to red ink because it'll stand out against our sea of black here. All right, so we can take a look at our quarter notes here. And we got 1, 2, 3, 4 right down the line. We're going to split each one of these in half, and that's going to create 2 8th notes for each quarter note. So you can see now, as I'm doing this, that we are going to be crowding the space, but also we now only have 1, 2, 3, 4. What are we going to call the other 4 notes? Well, if we come down here, you can see exactly what the solution is going to be. We're going to use the word and. So here you can see 1, 2, 3, and 4. What I just circled is exactly the same as this, only we're playing those notes a little shorter than a full quarter note. And again, we're going to be looking at that in our exercises later on in this session. So that's exactly the same thing, but now because we've got this additional 8th note on the other side of it, we need to call that something. We're calling it 1 and. So 1 and, those 2 notes, they take the spot of the 1 quarter note that's just 1. So we're squeezing in another note into the same space, which means, of course, when we play it, it's going to sound like we're moving faster, but we're not actually moving faster. We're just playing more notes in the same space of time. So technically, there's a quicker rate of occurrence, let's say, of the notes. But our tempo, the speed at which we're playing the piece, has not increased. And that's really important because we want to make sure when we do choose a tempo for a tune that we don't speed up or slow down unless the song actually calls for it, or unless that's something we're doing for artistic creativity. All right, so let's go ahead and play 8th notes, and here's how we're going to do it. As I strum, I'm going outwards for the numbers 1, and then when I come back, I'm going to use my return trip as my hand comes back to do the and. So I'm going to go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. This is a recap of things that we've been covering all year long, and so I wanted to put that out there again for some of you who have been joining us newly here. So again, here is the 8th note cadence. I'm going out on 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm coming in on the ands. And if you're a primarily inward strummer, you can reverse that. Come in on the 1s and then go out on the ands. But do make sure you are using the back and forth pick direction like this. So we're going to go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Those 8 notes, that subdivision, will be very important when we start looking at our exercises. The next one down here is the 16th notes. And the 16th notes, basically we're taking each one of these 8th notes and splitting it in half to create 2 16th notes. So of course we do that for each one of those, and I'm not going to do every single one of them, but let me do half. That's where we were with 8 notes, just half the measure. We do them for the rest of these over here, and we end up with this 16 16th notes. That's a lot of notes, and because we've added, again, we've doubled the amount of notes we have in a measure, we now have to call these extra notes by something to identify them. We've used 1, 2, 3, 4. We've used and to match with each one of those numbers. Now we're going to add E and I know it sounds completely ridiculous, but it's the only way we can really keep track of everything. So take a look at the count here. 1, E, and Let me break it down and show you what we're looking at. First of all, this is 1. That is your quarter note. If we didn't play anything else for the rest of that measure, or for at least that first beat, that's where your quarter note lives. The same thing as the first of the pair of 8 notes. So we're not changing locations. These are all of the quarter notes and their locations. Now, where are the 8th notes in this equation? The 8th notes are the 3rd note out of every group of 4. Every group of 4 16th notes is 1 quarter note. Every group of 16th notes is 2 8th notes. Every 2 16th notes is an 8th note. So hopefully you're seeing the conversion between these, but let me erase this for a second. 1 E and is all fitting in the space of 1 count, 1 beat. That's 4 notes. 1 E and inside of 1 beat. So we just add the number to the beginning of that little chant, and we end up with our next beat. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and. So let me just count 1, 2, 3, 4, and let me clap the 16th notes so you can see how they kind of work together. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's do the same thing with 8 notes. I'm going to clap 8 notes, but I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're not clapping nearly as quickly, but the numbers, you can see how they line up. So, of course, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1. That time I reversed it. This time I just clapped 1, 2, 3, 4, but spoke the quarter note, the 8th note, and the 16th note count. So you can put all 3 of these together in a cadence, and I recommend playing with that every single day to really build up your strum and to build up your consistency with the speed. Now, what tempo would we like to go on this? I like to go with super, super moderate, bordering on stupid slow. We're going to go to about 68 beats per minute. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1. We're going slow because, as you can tell, we get to the 16th notes and things tend to get a little cray-cray. So we want to make sure that we can allow for enough counts in there comfortably to know what we're doing. Let's transfer that over to the mountain dulcimer now. And the cadence is going to be a measure of quarter notes, a measure of 8 notes, and a measure of 16th notes. Done just like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1. 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1. All right. That's a great exercise. Do a little bit every day. Do it for about a minute or so. And that just really, really helps out. Do it with the metronome about half the time. Half the time, listen to that click, click. The click is your quarter note. So stick with that click. And then as you come around, play your 8 notes and your 16th notes against that click. And do it when you cool down. After you warm up and do your rehearsal, then do it as a closer for your rehearsal as well. So it's the last thing you do, and it's going to keep you nice and fit.